The sun was doing that thing it does in late afternoon, turning everything golden and soft. Keanu had decided to take a walk by himself, something he didn't get to do much anymore. No plan, no schedule, just him and the Venice Beach boardwalk with all its noise and life happening around him. He wasn't trying to be invisible exactly, but he wasn't trying to be seen either. A baseball cap, regular clothes, just a person walking along the water like anybody else. The truth is, after so many years of being recognized, sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is a couple hours where nobody knows who you are. The boardwalk was packed. It always is when the sun gets low like that. People were stretched out on the sand. Couples were holding hands. Street musicians were setting up for the evening crowd. Keanu walked slow, taking in, letting his mind wander. He was thinking about nothing and everything at the same time, the way you do when you're finally alone with your thoughts. That's when he first noticed them. There was this older guy sitting on a faded blue blanket near the water fountain area. He had deep lines in his face, the kind that come from living rough. His clothes were clean but worn, patched in places. Next to him was a dog, not a purebred or anything fancy. This dog looked like it had been through some things. One ear stood straight up like an antenna, and the other one folded down. The fur was a mix of brown and gray, matted in some spots. But the dog's eyes were alive, really alive, like there was a whole world of love and loyalty packed into this small, beat-up animal. The man and the dog were just sitting together, watching the people go by. The dog's head rested on the man's leg, and every once in a while the man would reach down and scratch behind the dog's ears. You could see it in how they sat together, the way they occupied space next to each other. This wasn't a random pair. This was family, deep family. Keanu found himself slowing down even more, watching them without meaning to. There was something pure about it, something real in a world full of people pretending and performing. Here was a man and a dog just being together, not asking for much, just existing in each other's presence. He was thinking about this, really thinking about it, when everything changed. The sound came first. Loud engines, the kind of noise that doesn't fit with the peaceful evening vibe. A group of motorcycles came roaring down the boardwalk. 3 or 4 of them, moving too fast for a place where kids and families were walking around. The riders were showing off, zigzagging a little, that aggressive confidence you see in guys who think they own the space. The lead bike was doing the most, weaving left and right, his friends following behind him. They were laughing, riding reckless. The guy on the front bike had this arrogant energy, like the whole world was supposed to move out his way just because he made noise. The dog didn't see it coming. 1 second the dog was sitting there with the old man, and the next second something had caught his attention. Maybe it was a dropped piece of food. Maybe he just got distracted the way dogs do. He stood up and wandered a few feet forward, still attached to boardwalk space, but just a little bit into the path of these bikes that shouldn't have been moving that fast in the first place. The front bike's tire caught the dog. Not a full hit, not like getting crushed, but enough. The impact was sudden and violent. The dog yelped, a sound that cut through all the boardwalk noise like nothing else mattered. The animal tumbled, his body thrown sideways, and he limped immediately back toward the old man, crying out. The motorcycles didn't stop. The guy who hit the dog didn't even look back. He just laughed with his friends and twisted the throttle. All 3 bikes accelerating away like they were racing. Like an injured dog and a broken old man didn't matter at all. Everything happened fast, but also felt slow. Keanu watched the old man scoop up the dog, his hand shaking. He was saying something low and urgent, checking the dog over with trembling fingers. The dog was crying, whimpering, his back leg not working right. The old man was crying too, silently, his shoulders shaking as he held on to his dog like holding on hard enough could fix what just happened. The boardwalk kept moving around them. Some people noticed. Most didn't. A woman with a stroller pointed. A teenager with his phone maybe got a video. But most people just walked past because that's what people do. They see something bad, and they move on with their evening. Keanu stood still. He couldn't move, not because he was frozen with shock, but because something in his chest was pulling him toward this man and this dog. Some part of him that understood that walking away wasn't an option here. Not anymore. The old man was on his knees now, still holding the dog, looking around like he was trying to figure out what to do. His face showed every ounce of fear and helplessness. This dog was everything to him. You could tell just by looking. This wasn't a pet. This was the one thing he had left that loved him without condition. Keanu walked toward them. He moved slow and careful, so the old man wouldn't feel threatened. Keanu crouched down, keeping distance, let his body language say that he wasn't here to hurt or judge, just here to help. "That bike hit your dog," Keanu said. His voice was quiet, steady. "He's hurt." The old man looked up. His eyes were red. "I know. I saw it. I don't know what to do." His voice cracked. "I ain't got money for a vet." Keanu looked at the dog more carefully. The left back leg wasn't moving right. There was a scrape on the dog's side. The dog was still whimpering, still scared, but alive, responsive. "He needs medical help," Keanu said. "Come on, I know a place." The old man hesitated. You could see the calculation happening in his head, fear mixing with desperation, trust issues, the whole weight of being a person without resources in a city that doesn't always make room for people like him. "I can't pay," he said again, and this time his voice broke completely. "Let me help," Keanu said. Just like that. No performance, no big moment. Just a person offering help to another person who needed it. The old man nodded slowly. He stood up, holding the dog close to his chest. The dog settled into his arms, still scared but calmer now that his person was moving, doing something. Keanu pulled out his phone and called for a car. While they waited, the old man whispered to his dog, telling him it was going to be okay. Keanu stood nearby, not trying to be part of their moment, just being present, just being the kind of person who doesn't look away when something bad happens. When the car pulled up, the old man got in slowly, carefully, protecting his dog. Keanu slid in next to them for the whole ride to the animal clinic. He kept his hand gently on the dog's head, just touching the fur, whispering that everything was going to be all right. The old man watched him do this. His eyes filled with something that looked like hope, like maybe, just maybe, the world wasn't completely empty of people who cared. The veterinary clinic was quiet when they walked in. There were a couple people in the waiting room with their pets. The kind of place that smelled like disinfectant and worried people. Keanu helped the old man through the door, his hand still on the dog's back, gentle and steady. The receptionist looked up from her desk. She was young, maybe mid-20s, the kind of person who worked in a vet clinic because she loved animals. Her eyes went from the old man to the injured dog to Keanu, and Keanu could see her doing the math, trying to figure out the situation. "We need to see someone right away," Keanu said. "The dog was hit by a motorcycle about 10 minutes ago." The receptionist's whole face changed. She stood up immediately. Okay, we can get him in. Let me just get some information. What's the dog's name?" The old man was still holding the dog close, looking around the clinic like he was in another world. "His name is, it's Copper," he said quietly. His voice was different now, smaller, like he was a child again. "And your name?" The receptionist was already pulling up forms on her computer. The old man paused. He looked at Keanu like he was asking permission to exist in this space. "I'm Tom." Keanu stepped forward. "I'm handling the payment," he said to the receptionist. "Just put everything on my card and get him in to see the vet as soon as possible." Tom looked at him, really looked at him, like he was trying to understand what was happening, why a stranger was doing this. The confusion on his face mixed with something that looked like gratitude, but also shame. The kind of shame that comes from needing help when you've been invisible for too long. A vet tech came out and led them to a room. It was bright and clinical, with that nervous energy that happens when animals are hurt. The tech asked Tom to put Copper on the examination table. Tom didn't want to let go. His hands shook as he set the dog down, and he immediately started petting him, talking to him soft and low. "It's okay, buddy. It's okay. These people are going to help you. They're going to make sure you're all right." Copper was still whimpering, still scared, but something in Tom's voice calmed him down a little. You could see how long they'd been together, how deeply woven their lives were into each other. The vet came in a few minutes later. She was professional and kind, the way good vets are. She examined Copper carefully, feeling his legs, checking his side, looking in his mouth and eyes. The whole time she was talking, explaining what she was doing, keeping everyone calm. "Okay," she said after a few minutes. "The good news is nothing is broken. He's got some pretty bad bruising on this back leg, and there's a small fracture in the paw here, but it's not severe. He was lucky. If that bike had hit him any harder..." She didn't finish that sentence, but they all understood. If that bike had hit him any harder, they wouldn't be having this conversation. "What about the scrape?" Tom asked. His voice was urgent now. "Will it get infected?" "We'll clean it up, put some antibiotic ointment on it. We can give him some pain medication for the next few days. The bruising will take a couple weeks to heal, and he'll need to rest. No running around, keep movement limited. But he should be back to normal in a month or so." Tom's shoulders dropped. He looked like he might cry. Keanu was standing in the corner of the room, watching all of this, watching how much this dog meant to this man. "What's the cost?" Tom asked. His voice got quiet again. The vet looked at him, then at Keanu, then back at Tom. She was good at reading situations. "That's going to be around $800 for the examination, x-rays, medication, and treatment." Tom's face went white. $800 might as well have been $8 million. It was the kind of number that didn't exist in his world. Keanu could see him doing the math in his head, trying to figure out how that was possible, how he was going to tell this vet that he couldn't pay. "I've got it," Keanu said. He pulled out his credit card and handed it to the vet. "Take care of him, whatever it costs." Tom looked at Keanu. His eyes were wet now. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Keanu thought about it for a second. The honest answer was complicated. It was about witnessing. It was about the moment he saw that bike hit Copper and understanding that this wasn't something he could just walk away from. It was about looking at Tom and seeing a person instead of a homeless guy on the street. It was about knowing that Copper didn't deserve to suffer because Tom didn't have money. "Because your dog needs help," Keanu said. "And I can help. So I am." It sounded simple when he said it out loud. No big philosophical moment. Just a person doing what made sense. Tom turned back to Copper, his hand shaking as he petted the dog's head. "You hear that, buddy? You're going to be okay. These good people are going to take care of you." The vet and her tech got to work. They cleaned up Copper's scrape, wrapped his injured paw carefully, and gave him some medication to help with the pain. The whole time, Tom stayed right there, talking to his dog, keeping him calm. Copper's eyes were following Tom, and even though the dog was scared and hurt, having his person there made all the difference. When they were done, the vet gave Tom some instructions. Rest, limited movement, pain medication every 6 hours, come back in a week for a checkup. Tom nodded along to everything, taking it in, understanding that Copper's life was in his hands now. In the waiting room, while Keanu finished the paperwork, Tom stood next to him. They weren't talking, just standing together. But something had shifted between them. They weren't strangers anymore. They were two people who had gone through something together. "I don't know how to thank you," Tom said finally. His voice was rough. "I don't have anything to give you." Keanu looked at him. "You don't need to thank me, and you don't need to give me anything. Just take care of him. That's all that matters." Tom nodded, but there was something else on his face now. Not just relief. Something heavier. Like now that the emergency was over, the bigger reality was sinking in. He was homeless. He didn't have $800. He didn't have much of anything except Copper. And what happened when Copper got sick again? What happened if he couldn't afford care the next time? "Do you have a place to stay tonight?" Keanu asked. Tom hesitated. The kind of pause that tells you the answer before he even says it. "I've got a spot under the pier. It's not much, but it's warm and dry tonight." "That's not good enough," Keanu said. "Not with an injured dog. Come on, I know a place." Tom looked at him like he was about to argue, but then he looked at Copper, sleeping now from the medication, safe and cared for. He nodded. They called another car. Tom got in carefully, settling Copper on his lap like the dog was made of glass. The dog was out, completely asleep, his little body relaxed for the first time since the bike had hit him. As they drove through Los Angeles, the city lights blurring past the window, Tom finally started talking. Not because Keanu asked him to, just because something had opened up inside him, and the words needed to come out. "I didn't always live like this," Tom said. "I had a job once. I had a family. I had a whole life." Keanu listened. He didn't interrupt. He just let Tom talk. "I lost the job first. Then everything kind of fell apart after that. My wife left. My kids didn't want to know me anymore. Within a couple years, I was on the street." Tom looked down at Copper. "This dog found me 3 years ago. He was just a puppy, all skin and bones, abandoned. We found each other. He was quiet for a moment. He's the only thing that made my life mean something. The only thing that showed me I was still worth taking care of. And when that bike hit him, I felt like the universe was telling me that even that wasn't going to work out." Keanu looked at Tom, really looked at him, not at the clothes or the situation, just at the person, at the love in his eyes when he talked about his dog, at the pain that comes from losing everything, at the strength it takes to keep going when nothing makes sense anymore. "He's going to be okay," Keanu said, "and you're going to be okay too." Tom didn't respond, but something in his grip on Copper loosened just a little bit, like maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe it. The next morning, Keanu woke up thinking about Tom and Copper. He didn't plan to. It just happened. He was sitting with his coffee, looking out at the city, and all he could think about was whether they were okay, whether Copper's leg was feeling better, whether Tom had slept at all. He decided to go visit them. The motel he'd gotten them into wasn't fancy, but it was clean, and it had a small room with a bed and a bathroom. Tom had been almost shocked when Keanu paid for a week up front. Like he couldn't believe people did things like that. Like kindness was something he'd forgotten existed. When Keanu knocked on the door, Tom opened it carefully, like he was worried who it might be. When he saw Keanu, his whole face changed. Relief mixed with something else. Gratitude maybe, but also confusion. Like he still didn't understand why this person was in his life now. "Hey," Tom said. "Come in. Copper's sleeping, but he's doing better. The medicine is helping with the pain." The room was small and simple. There was a window that looked out onto the parking lot. On the bed, Copper was curled up, his bandaged paw resting on top of the blanket. The dog opened his eyes when he heard them, his tail wagging slowly like even that small movement hurt. Tom sat on the edge of the bed, and Keanu pulled up a chair. They sat in a comfortable silence for a minute, just watching the dog. "I've been thinking about something," Keanu said. "That guy on the motorcycle. We should report what happened." Tom's whole body went rigid. No, I don't want any trouble." "There shouldn't be trouble for you," Keanu said. "What he did was illegal. He hit your dog and rode away. That's animal cruelty." Tom was shaking his head. "People like me don't go to the police. Nothing good comes from it. They ask too many questions. They want to know where you live, how you're getting by. I've been on the streets long enough to know that getting involved with cops only makes things worse." Keanu understood that fear. He'd read about it, heard stories. The way homelessness and the criminal justice system were tangled up together. How people without homes were more likely to be arrested for just existing in public spaces. Tom had learned, probably the hard way, that visibility wasn't always safe. "I was there," Keanu said. "I saw everything. I can report it. They don't need anything from you except your cooperation, if it comes to that." Tom was quiet for a long time. He kept looking at Copper, like he was weighing the risk against the need for justice. Finally, he nodded, just barely. A small agreement. Keanu made some calls. He had a detective friend from way back, someone he trusted. The detective came by the next day with questions and a notebook. He was professional and kind, understanding immediately that Tom was nervous. The detective took Keanu's statement about what he'd seen, the timing, the direction the bikes went, as many details as he could remember. Then the detective explained something that made Keanu's chest tighten. "We've got security footage from a boardwalk. A few cameras picked up what happened. And guess what? This guy on the bike, he's got a record. Multiple traffic violations. One prior incident of reckless endangerment that got dropped because the victim didn't want to press charges. 3 days later, the police found the bike and the guy. His name was Derek. He was in his mid-30s. The kind of guy who thought the world owed him something just because he was loud enough. When they told him that a witness was willing to testify about what happened. When they told him it was Keanu Reeves who saw the whole thing, something in Derek's face changed. Suddenly, it wasn't a nothing situation anymore. Suddenly, it mattered because a famous person was involved. Derek was cited for animal cruelty and reckless endangerment. His motorcycle was impounded. His arrogance crumbled when he realized the consequences were real this time. Keanu didn't tell Tom about Derek right away. He just visited every single day. He'd bring food, sit with Tom, check on Copper's recovery. They'd talk about everything and nothing. The weather, things on TV, the way Copper was getting stronger. And sometimes they'd talk about deeper things. "I had a daughter," Tom said one afternoon. They were sitting on the small balcony of the motel room, watching the parking lot. "Haven't seen her in about 8 years. Keanu waited for him to continue. "She was angry at me. At first it was because I wasn't around. Then it was because I was around, but I wasn't really there, you know? I was drinking. I was messed up. I was angry at everything. She had her own life to live, and I just kept dragging her down with my problems." Tom's voice got quieter. "After I lost everything, I sent her some letters, just telling her I was sorry, that I understood why she didn't want to know me anymore. But I also wanted her to know that I loved her, that I was trying to be better." "Did she write back?" Keanu asked. Tom shook his head. "No, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't want to know me either, the way I was." That night, Keanu went home and did something he probably shouldn't have done. He looked for Tom's daughter online. It took a while. Tom had only told him her name, and he'd been vague about details. But Keanu was patient. He found her. She was living in another state. She had her own family now. She'd moved on. Keanu sat with that information for a couple days, thinking about whether he should do anything with it, about whether he had the right to interfere in something so personal. He decided he did, not because he was arrogant, because he'd learned that sometimes people who are broken need other people to believe in them, need someone else to carry hope when they can't carry it themselves. A week into Copper's recovery, Keanu brought Tom some news. "That motorcycle incident," Keanu said. "The police found a guy. His name is Derek. He's going to be charged with animal cruelty and reckless endangerment. There's enough evidence that you probably won't have to testify. But if you do, I'll be there." Tom's eyes got wet, not from sadness, but from the feeling of being heard, of mattering, of injustice being addressed instead of just swept away. "There's something else I need to tell you," Keanu said. He took a breath. "I found your daughter." Tom's whole body went still. "I didn't contact her or anything. I just wanted to let you know that she's out there. She's alive and well, and she has a family. And I think maybe if you want to reach out to her again, it might be worth trying." Tom looked at him like Keanu had just told him something impossible. Why would you? "Because I've learned that people deserve second chances," Keanu said. "And people who love other people deserve to know they're being loved, even from a distance." Tom cried that day. Real, deep crying. The kind that comes when you've been holding something in for so long that you forget it was there, and suddenly someone else tells it's okay to let it out. Copper got better. His leg healed. The bandage came off. By the second week, he was walking on all 4 legs again, still a little careful, but getting stronger every day. Tom still didn't have a job. He still didn't have a permanent home. But something had shifted. The weight he'd been carrying for 8 years, the feeling that he was invisible and worthless, had lifted a little bit. Someone had seen him. Someone had helped him. Someone had believed in his right to matter. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start building something new. One afternoon, Tom asked Keanu something. "What's going to happen to Derek? With the charges?" "He'll probably go to jail for a while," Keanu said. "He'll have to pay a fine. His motorcycle will be gone. But honestly, that's not what matters to me. What matters is that he knows what he did was wrong. That he can't just hurt someone and ride away." Tom nodded. He was quiet for a moment. "I was like that once," he said. "Angry, reckless, hurting people without caring. It took losing everything to make me understand that my actions affected other people. Maybe he'll learn the same way." Keanu looked at Tom with a new respect. Here was a man who had lost almost everything. who had every right to be bitter. And instead, he was thinking about redemption, not just for himself, but for someone who had hurt him. That was the kind of strength that couldn't be measured. Keanu sat in his car for a long time before getting out. He was parked on a quiet street in Portland, Oregon, in front of a modest house with a well-maintained yard. The house looked like the kind where people lived normal lives, where they had routines and family dinners and futures they could count on. He wasn't sure what he was doing here. He wasn't even sure he had the right to be doing it. Tom had mentioned his daughter only a few times, but something about the way he said it stuck with Keanu. The longing in his voice, the acceptance that it was probably too late, the way he'd made peace with the idea that he didn't deserve to be forgiven. Keanu had spent a week finding her. Not in a creepy way, just in a methodical way you can find someone if you have patience and the internet. Her name was Lisa. She was 34 years old. She worked at a nonprofit that helped underprivileged kids. She had 2 children. She was married to a guy named Robert who worked in tech. She looked happy in the few photos Keanu found online. She also looked like she had deliberately built a life that didn't include broken things from her past. Keanu sat in the car and questioned himself. What right did he have to show up at her house? What if she didn't want to hear about her father? What if it made things worse? But then he thought about Tom, sitting in that motel room with Copper, finally starting to feel like a person again. He thought about the letters Tom had sent that were never answered, the hope that maybe, just maybe, there could be a bridge between them. He got out of the car. When Lisa opened the door, she was suspicious. Keanu could see it in her face. A strange man at her house was never a good sign. She was protective, the way mothers are. She didn't open the door wide, just enough to see who was standing on her porch. "Hi," Keanu said. "I know this is weird, and I know you probably want me to leave, but I'm not here to sell you anything or hurt you. I just need to talk to you about your father." Lisa's whole body went rigid. Her hand tightened on the door. "How do you know about my father?" "Because I met him," Keanu said. "And I think you should know what he's really like now." She almost closed the door. Keanu could see her doing calculation, seeing danger where there wasn't any. But something made her pause. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the fact that someone was standing on her porch talking about her father with genuine care in his voice. "Come inside," she said finally. "But I'm calling someone if this is weird." They sat in her living room. It was decorated with photos of her kids, her husband, vacation pictures. All the normal things. Lisa sat across from Keanu, her arms crossed, her face closed off. "My father was abusive," she said before Keanu could say anything. "Not physically, mostly, but emotionally. He was angry all the time. He would disappear for days. He made my mother's life hell. And then he made my life hell by not being around, and then showing up when he felt like it, wanting us to act like everything was fine. When I was 18, I told him I didn't want him in my life anymore." Keanu listened. He let her get it all out. "For years, I got letters from him. I never opened them. I just threw them away, because I didn't want his apologies or his excuses. I had my own life to live, and I didn't want to carry his guilt around anymore." "Okay," Keanu said. "That's fair. That's a healthy boundary." Lisa looked at him like she was trying to figure out if he was patronizing her. "So what? You're here to guilt-trip me into forgiving him?" "No," Keanu said. "I'm here to tell you who he is now." Keanu told her about Tom, about how he'd lost everything, about how he'd been living on the streets for years, about Copper and the motorcycle accident, about the way Tom had cried when Keanu first found him because he couldn't afford to save his dog's life, about the genuine remorse Tom carried. Not as a way to get something from people, but as a quiet truth he lived with every day. "He told me about you," Keanu said. "He told me he didn't blame you for cutting him off. He told me he understood why. And he said that all he wanted was for you to know that he loved you, that he understood he wasn't a good father, that he was sorry. But he also said that he would respect your decision to never speak to him again." Lisa's eyes were wet. She was fighting it, trying not to cry, but the tears came anyway. "I'm angry at him," she said. "I don't know if I can just get over that." "I'm not asking you to," Keanu said. "Anger is fair. You have a right to it. But what if you just talk to him? What if you gave him a chance to tell you who he is now, not who he was? Lisa looked away, out the window at her front yard, at the life she'd built, at the safety she constructed. What if it doesn't change anything, she asked. What if I see him and I just feel the same anger? Then at least you'll know, Keanu said. Right now you're carrying anger at a man who doesn't exist anymore. You're punishing a version of him that he left behind years ago. Lisa sat with that for a long time. I have kids, she said finally, and I never told them about my father. I never told them they had a grandfather. Part of me thought, what if they ask me about him, and I have to explain why he's not in our lives? What if they feel that loss? That was the real fear, not about Tom, about what his absence meant for her children. Keanu didn't push. He just sat there, giving her space to think. I'll talk to him, Lisa said finally. Her voice was small. But I'm not promising anything, and I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it because I have kids, and they deserve to know the truth about their family. Keanu felt something shift in his chest. Relief, maybe. Or hope. He set up a video call for the next day. He told Tom what he'd done, and Tom's first reaction was panic. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have interfered. She's going to hate me more now. Maybe, Keanu said, but at least you'll get to hear her voice. The next afternoon, Keanu sat with Tom in the motel room. Copper was curled up on the bed, his leg fully healed now, his whole body at peace in a way it hadn't been before. Tom was shaking as he held the phone. When Lisa's face appeared on the screen, everything stopped. Father and daughter looked at each other for the first time in 8 years. There was so much history in that silence. So much pain and anger and regret and love, all tangled up together. Hi, Dad, Lisa said. Her voice cracked on the second word. Hey, sweetheart, Tom said. He was crying. I don't know what to say. You can start by telling me what Keanu told me. Tell me what happened. Tell me what your life has been like. So Tom talked. He didn't make excuses. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just told the truth. About losing his job, about the spiral, about the depression and anger that had consumed him, about hitting bottom and living on the streets, about Copper finding him, about how a stranger had helped him when his dog was hurt, and how that kindness had changed something fundamental in him. Lisa listened, and as she listened, something in her face softened. Not all the way, not completely, but enough that Keanu could see the anger starting to make room for other things. I want to see you, Lisa said. Not right now. I need to think about this. But I want to see you. Tom nodded. He couldn't speak. When the call ended, Tom sat there in silence for a long time. Keanu stood up to leave, but Tom grabbed his hand. Thank you, Tom said, for not giving up on me, for believing that I was worth fighting for. Keanu squeezed his hand. You were always worth fighting for. I just helped you see it. A week later, Lisa came to Los Angeles. She came alone first, to meet Tom without her family. She wanted to see for herself who he was now. They sat in a small coffee shop, and Tom told her stories about her childhood that she'd forgotten. He listened to her talk about her kids, about her life, about the person she'd become. It wasn't a magical reconciliation. It was messy and complicated and real, but it was a beginning. When Lisa left to go back to Portland, she hugged her father. It was stiff at first, but then Tom just held on, and Lisa let herself be held. I'll bring the kids next time, she said. They should know you. Tom nodded. He couldn't speak again. He just held on to his daughter and let himself feel like a person who was loved, even after losing everything. Keanu watched from a distance. He didn't need to be part of this moment. He'd done what he came to do. He'd been a bridge. And that was enough. 6 months had passed. The kind of time that changes things slowly, almost without you noticing, until one day you look around and realize that nothing is the same anymore. Tom had moved out of the motel. With Keanu's help, he'd found a small one-bedroom apartment in a quiet part of Los Angeles. It wasn't fancy. The walls were thin and the carpet was old, but it was his. He had a lease with his name on it. He had an address. He was a person with a home again. Copper's leg had healed completely. The limp was gone. The dog moved like he'd forgotten he was ever hurt, though sometimes Tom would catch him being careful with that back leg, like muscle memory of pain that had faded but not quite disappeared. More important than the apartment, Tom had found work. He was volunteering at a local animal shelter 3 days a week, and they'd recently asked him to come on as a part-time paid employee. Tom was good at it. He understood the animals in a way that came from having been broken himself. He could see the fear in a scared dog's eyes and know exactly what it needed. Patience, gentleness, someone to believe that better days were possible. His co-workers didn't know his history. Most of them thought Tom was just a quiet guy who loved animals. And that was true, but it was also true that he was a man rebuilding himself piece by piece, day by day. Lisa and her family had visited 3 times now. The kids, who were 8 and 11, had been nervous the first time they met their grandfather. Kids pick up on the heaviness of complicated family stuff, even when adults try to hide it. But Tom had won them over without trying. He'd taught the older one how to make copper do tricks. He'd read stories to the younger one. He'd just been present, steady, reliable in a way their grandfather maybe wasn't in their earliest memories. Lisa was different too. The anger was still there sometimes. Keanu could see it in certain moments. But it was softer now, more like sadness that had been transformed into understanding. She talked about doing therapy, about processing the stuff from her childhood, about learning to separate the father he'd been from the man he was becoming. He's not suddenly a perfect dad, she told Keanu once, but he's trying, and that matters more than I thought it would. On this particular afternoon, Keanu was walking with Tom along the Venice Beach boardwalk. It was the same place where the accident had happened. The same sandy, crowded space where their lives had collided 6 months ago. The sun was setting again, turning everything golden just like it had that day. They walked slowly, no particular destination. Copper trotted between them, his tail up, his whole body content. The dog had become as much a part of Keanu's life as Tom's. They visited regularly. They walked together. They'd become something like a family. The 3 of them. "I've been thinking about something," Tom said as they walked. "About Derek." Keanu looked at him. Derek had been sentenced to 6 months in jail and community service. He was scheduled to be released in a couple weeks. "What about him?" Keanu asked. "I've been writing him letters," Tom said. "I haven't sent them. I'm not sure I should." Keanu waited for Tom to continue. "When you're at your lowest point, when you've lost everything and you're angry at the world, it's easy to hurt people. I did that. I hurt a lot of people before I lost everything. Derek's not that different from who I was. He's just younger. He hasn't learned yet that actions have consequences, that people matter, that you can't just destroy things because you're angry or bored or think you're above everyone else." Tom sat down on a bench, and Copper immediately curled up at his feet. Keanu sat next to him. "I want to send him a letter," Tom said. "Not to forgive him, not to make him feel better, but to tell him that there's a way out of that anger, that he doesn't have to stay the way he is, that he can change." "That's generous," Keanu said. "It's not," Tom said. "It's selfish. I need him to know that change is possible, because I need to believe about myself. Every single day, I wake up and I think about the guy I used to be, and I work really hard not to be that guy anymore. If Derek never changes, if he gets out and just goes back to being angry and hurting people, then what does that say about me? What if I slip? What if I become him again?" Keanu understood. Recovery isn't linear. Redemption isn't guaranteed. It's a choice you make every day, and you never really get to stop making it. "Send a letter," Keanu said, "but maybe wait until he's out. Let him sit with his time first. Let him have time to think about what he did." Tom nodded. They sat in silence for a while, watching the ocean. The boardwalk was quieter now that the sun was getting low. Fewer people. The light was softer. Everything felt more real somehow, less performed. "I got a letter from my therapist today," Tom said. "She wants me to come in twice a week now instead of once. She says we're getting into deeper stuff, memory work and processing trauma. It's going to cost more. You can afford it?" Keanu asked. "With the job at the shelter, yeah, barely. But yeah, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed this was possible. A job that actually means something to me. An apartment. A therapist who knows my name. A daughter who talks to me on the phone." Tom's voice got thick. "Grandkids who call me grandpa." Keanu put his hand on Tom's shoulder. No big speech. No dramatic moment. Just a gesture that said, I see you. I'm proud of you. There's something I need to tell you, Tom said. Something I've been thinking about. Keanu turned to look at him. I'm getting off the streets completely, Tom said. Not just surviving off the streets, but making sure I never go back. I'm signing up for this program where the shelter helps employees with emergency savings. I'm being intentional about it. I'm scared sometimes that if I'm not vigilant, I'll end up back there. That one bad month, one health crisis, one mistake, and I could lose everything again. That's smart, Keanu said. That's awareness. It's trauma, Tom said simply. But yeah, I'm using it to build something solid. I don't want to take anything for granted. They watched the street musician pack up his guitar as the light changed. The guy counted his tips and smiled, satisfied with his day. Small victories. That's what life is made of. I've been thinking about you a lot, Keanu said. About what happened, about what it meant to me. Tom looked at him. I was having this conversation with a friend, Keanu continued, and I realized something. That day on the boardwalk, when that bike hit Copper, I could have walked away. I could have thought, that's sad, but it's not my problem. And my whole life would have been different. I would have gone back to my hotel and forgotten about it by the next day. But you didn't, Tom said. But I didn't, Keanu agreed. And it changed my life. Not because I did something amazing, but because I learned something about responsibility, about how witnessing something means you become part of it. You can't separate yourself from the suffering you see. Tom was quiet. You changed my life, Keanu said. You and Copper. You showed me what it looks like to keep going even when everything is impossible. What it looks like to love something so much that you'll do anything to protect it. What it looks like to accept help without losing your dignity. Tom's eyes were wet again, but this time he was smiling. We should do something together, Tom said. Something that helps people. People like I was. People living on the streets with their animals. Keanu smiled. Yeah, I think we should. They stood up and started walking back down the boardwalk. The sun was almost gone now, just a sliver of gold on the horizon. The sky was turning pink and purple. The air was cooling down. Copper walked between them, his leash held loosely in both their hands. The dog didn't know that he'd been the reason two people's lives changed. Didn't know that his pain had created a bridge between a man and his daughter. Didn't know that a stranger's kindness in response to his injury had set off a chain of events that was still unfolding. But maybe that's how it works. Maybe the biggest changes in life come from the smallest moments. From someone deciding to help when they could have walked away. From someone accepting grace when they thought they didn't deserve it. From someone choosing to build a bridge instead of staying on their own side. The three of them disappeared into the Los Angeles evening. The story didn't end. It just shifted into a new chapter. Tom would continue to work at the shelter. Lisa would bring her kids more often. Copper would grow old with people who loved him. Keanu would continue to be part of their lives in quiet, steady ways. And somewhere, Derek was sitting in a cell, thinking about the man he hurt and the letter that would find him, telling him that change was possible, that redemption was a choice, that even people at rock bottom can find their way back up. The boardwalk was beautiful at dusk, full of possibility, full of people who didn't know each other's stories but were all trying, in their own ways, to find meaning in connection and love. That's where the real story was. Not in the moment the bike hit the dog, but in everything that came after, in the daily decision to be better, in the willingness to see people instead of circumstances, in the courage it takes to let someone help you, in the grace it takes to help someone else, in Coppa's healed leg in Tom's apartment and Lisa's forgiveness, and Keanu's willingness to be a bridge, in second chances given and received,